Guys, it's Main here, back again with another account review, and I do want to give a very quick disclaimer before I say this. I had to very carefully kind of go through the list of accounts that I have in the review list channel in the Discord. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's this list. I kind of put everyone's accounts here that have won giveaways to kind of help myself organize who's won an account review. This mostly comes from people who've won, at least nowadays, when I stream, usually the day before, I will put a giveaway, some form of like a giveaway in the Discord for people to win, and then I'll take those people that won, put their toolbox accounts into here. That being said, I haven't streamed for I think over a month now, so there's not really been much opportunity for people to win. But for the people who previously won, you see these accounts are like in fucking September, right? 2 months ago, month and a half since I've done like a giveaway, like an actual giveaway for people. Anyways, rant aside, I had to really go through and like pick and choose who I wanted to do an account review for, because all these people, you know, deserve an account review. They won, right? However, I've truthfully haven't had time to do so. And with World 7 being right here, right now, I've talked extensively in account reviews about prep for World 7, right? What end gamers can do to prep for World 7. But I've kind of left a community of people kind of in the dust. People who don't really know a lot about the game, who want to try out the new content that's coming out, but aren't in the position to do it. And so this was the only account I saw that was very early into the game. I'm pretty sure, Duck, you probably have quit the game by now because I mean, you haven't uploaded Toolbox in a while. I don't know if you actually quit or not, but it's been a month and a half since you won a giveaway, and you know, here I am doing your account review finally. So one, I apologize for just getting to you, but also this kind of will serve as I hope a sort of helpful account review for people who are in the more early section of the game, who need help getting into, you know, trying to break into World 6, because World 6 is very daunting, right? It's going to take a lot of time and effort for anyone to break through Woodland Spirits locks, Leak Spirit locks, Sky Doggy Spirit locks. Even if it's true that lava is reducing the amount of people you need to break through those locks, which he mentioned in a Reddit post, I believe, it's still going to take a lot of damage. It's going to take a lot of accuracy. It's going to take a lot of your character stats being in a good position for you to be able to push through World 6 to get to the World 7 content. And I want to preface this by saying, if you're not already in World 6 and at like maybe Leak Spirits to Sky Doggy Spirits, I don't think it's going to be that easy for you to get into World 7 on day one. I think that's just realistic. I think that's just down to earth, me being completely honest with you guys. Despite the fact that I have zero clue what the balancing features are for damage that are going to be coming, I have zero clue about the balancing features for World 6, like what's going to get nerfed and like what you're going to need to get into World 7 and like how to start World 7. But I want to give a point of reminder to people who are in their earlier game, people who haven't played Idleon for long, people who may have just gotten into the community and just want to start this new content and be with the hype with everyone. I take this game slow. That's my advice, right? There's a lot of information in this game. If, you know, I want to give a quick shout out real quick to Griffy, who's back doing, YouTube content. If you guys haven't seen Griffy Bit, obviously one of the biggest Idleon creators, he's doing a free to play speed run, or not really speed run, but like a guide, playthrough guide. And I would highly recommend looking. There we go. Highly recommend looking through his new free-to-play series that he's putting out. He's trying to do episodes every 3 days. Unlike me, I do it once every 3 months, you know. He's doing this content, and it's very detailed. It is extremely detailed. There's a lot of information in here coming from the perspective of someone who's like deep into this game, knows a lot about this game. And I think he deserves, obviously, the shout-out. Not that he really needs it. His channel is much bigger than mine, but still, it still remains the fact that this is a guide. And it's kind of hard to beat the information you get from here as a new player, right? There's obviously spreadsheets out there in the main Discord compiled by great content creators, great wiki people, you know, Sheepy creating the wiki. The wiki is a great resource as well. Use all these resources to your advantage and slowly learn the game. But the point of that being said, Griffy in his free-to-play guide, within the first 15 minutes, I think he said something along the lines of, Man, I'm so sorry. I'm giving you guys a lot because the early game of Idleon is so incredibly daunting. There is so many mechanics thrown at you, and you're just expected to kind of know how to do it. And it's not that it's designed that way. It's more so everything's kind of designed in a vacuum without thought for the previous mechanics. That's no dig at Lava, right? I think making a game like Idleon has so many interconnected pieces of mechanics that it's often easy to get lost and bogged down into how interconnected every single mechanic of this game is, right? And if you're just jumping into this game for the first time, going in fresh, not looking at guides, not looking at my channel, Griffey's channel, Cinderbane, Ice Locked, any one of these people that create guides, you're going to get lost and you're going to screw something up because this game requires a lot of research to get into. So, that being said, I know that is very intimidating to say, but if you want to get any idea of how to play Idleon, the first step is to take it slow, right? As you progress through the worlds, try to learn the mechanics one by one and get into it. And I kind of want to do that with Duck's account because this is an older snapshot. I truthfully don't know where you've been the past month and a half. And I mean that just I don't know what you've done in that time since you haven't updated. But I think there's a lot to glean from an early game account, and taking the experience I had from my free to play run and how I progressed it into World 6, and currently it's at Sky Doggy Spirits. I think there's a lot of information to go off there. So I think I've rambled for 6.5 minutes here about how daunting the early game is and how you're never going to make it to World 7 on day 1, but you can probably make it day 3, day 4, right? Based off whatever bonuses come to the previous mechanics or what other damage sources and stuff. So without further ado, let's just kind of get into the game. Let's talk about early game Idleon, how to progress it early, and how to get into World 6, what you should do when you get to World 6, and kind of your approach when it gets there. So let's go into it. So let's go into stamps, first of all, right? This is one of the first mechanics you get into. It's introduced in World 1. May not have been the first one you interacted with. You probably interacted with NPCs, right? You probably talked to Scripticus because he had the big question mark. Or I guess technically the first NPC you would have interacted with is probably the tutorial, voiceover, whatever, and then the troll, and then you getting... Anyways, World 1, first mechanics you probably already introduced to are going to be stamps. Vault, Scripticus, right? The basic mechanics of getting through portals, but stamps is by far the best early game mechanic outside of Alchemy, right? Because it's not World 1, it's World 2. So Alchemy is stamps are very critical. Alchemy is. We'll get into that in a second, but stamps are very critical, right? Without you upgrading stamps, you're not going to get far in Idleon. That's just a fact. There's a lot of stamps that carry progress through different stages of the game, and stamps kind of fall off a little bit when you get to the very end game. You're approaching 10k 15k stamp level, stamps start to fall off because some of them have diminishing returns, right? So the more levels you put into them, the less effect they give. Some stamps are not like that. Some stamps are linear. Some stamps increase by a same number every single time you level up, like Mason Jar, right? I think Golden Apple stamp, I know Drippy Drop stamp, I think Drop Lot stamp, Multi-Tool stamp, a few of those stamps. Those are really good stamps, mind you, but not all of them scale the same way, right? Crystalline stamp doesn't scale linearly. It's not going to increase by 1% crystal spawn chance per level. It's going to increase very, very slowly. So there are some stamps where it's just at some point it feels not worth to put a bunch of points into. That being said, you're at a stage in the game where you need to put points into any stamp whatsoever. I just realized something. Wow, this is very painful, but I see you've exalted an accuracy stamp. That is a very bad thing to do. That's probably one of the worst stamps to do. A better stamp in your position probably would have been Crystalline, or would have been Mason Jar, because Crystal Spawn is a very crucial, very necessary thing to upgrade. Accuracy is just straight up not. Accuracy is a very trivial mechanic. I know it seems like that's not the case for for early game players, but it'll snowball, and accuracy will become such a trivial mechanic to you that you will look back at the stamp if you continue playing this game, realizing what a mistake this was. Stamps are very crucial. They give you a basis for your account to scale, right? I always talk about this, or you always used to talk about this in some early game accounts, about how stamps are a very crucial base mechanic to Idleon. And if you don't have stamps, your account is just bad, right? I kind of strayed away from this over time because No Stamp Left Behind was introduced. A lot of time has passed since then. However, a lot of these people who just started playing Idleon didn't have exposure to that, right? Especially if you didn't have sacred methods back then. Instead, you were just exposed through endless summoning. Stamps are, like I said, a base to your account like Vault is. Vault gives you a ton of like base damage, base accuracy, base talent points, right? That'll multiply in some way with some other bonus, and it'll get, kind of snowballed out of proportion. So you want to start worrying about the base of your account being stamps. And if you see like a blue box around here, just upgrade it. The biggest, ideology I had when my free-to-play account, when I was progressing it, was if I had the resources and money to upgrade something, I did it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about that. There's like tiny mechanics here and tiny mechanics there to worry about. Like, oh, no bubble left behind triggers on bubbles that are level 2 and above, right? So you don't want to upgrade this bubble or that bubble. Truth of the matter is, if you're new to Idleon, just upgrade something. Right? You just don't worry about it. Just upgrade something. There's only one thing immediately that pops in my mind that you shouldn't do that, and that's Refinery, but we'll get to that in just a second. We're going through world by world. When it comes to stamps, if you see something you have the resources to upgrade, if you have the carry capacity, if you have the resources and the money to upgrade something, just do it, right? In some way, it's going to benefit your account. Like, say if all you had was green spore caps to upgrade base damage. Guess what? That's base damage. You need that. Damage at all stages of the game is very important, especially nowadays where damage is becoming like a very important thing for like Emperor kills, right? Or Ancient Golem. If you're just trying to kill Ancient Golem, it has a very high health amount. It has a very high accuracy amount, right? So people often will struggle when they get to Ancient Golems for the first time, unless they prepped months and months before the update dropped, right? So every little bit of base damage that you get is very crucial. Every little bit of accuracy you get, notwithstanding, don't exalt the stamp for it, is very important. Defense as you get into World 6 is a little bit of a problem, so that would help you a little bit. Also is required for a star sign to help you complete that. So defense here is obviously pretty good. Now again, don't exalt it, because defense is one of those that are also very trivialized when you get into the end game when it comes to bubbles. So we'll talk about that in a second, but stamps wise, just if you have the resources, upgrade it, right? At some way, especially early game, it's going to snowball and help your account in a very big way. And then there's also this kind of break point to where, kind of break away from stamps here for a second to talk about, I guess, transition zones of Idleon. So when you're in like World 1 to World 4, ish, right? Stats matter for a different reason than they matter in the late game. In the early game, World 1 to World 4, very true sense of the word, in the sense of like world progression, very early game, right? Stats only serve a few purposes of skill efficiency, a little bit of damage, and then you have the bigger reason being accuracy, right? The whole goal of World 4 in my free-to-play run was trying to get accuracy for my Squire to push World 4. And the reason accuracy was a big deal for Squire is because he has a talent called Precision Power, I think it is, where you get damage based off of your accuracy on the mob. And if your accuracy is 1.5 times higher than the 100% amount for the mob, then you'll get a big damage boost based off your Refinery ranks. That's why accuracy kind of early game is big. Also, being able to hit the mob is very important, which often is a struggle for early game players. So, upgrading accuracy is very important. And the best way to do that is not through exalting a stamp, it's through Shaccuracy, which is a alchemy bubble. So let's talk about alchemy now. I guess this is kind of a good transition point, but this is kind of a limiting factor for a lot of people's accounts early game, is getting a good bloach print for Shaccuracy. This secondary stat multiplier is so big and so crucial for everyday use and everyone's account, right? That it is absolutely necessary to stretch and hem and haw and like break your legs and like bend over backwards for, right? Throw every metaphor of the book at this. Shaccuracy is so crucial early game, and you're not going to get very far if you don't worry about Shaccuracy, right? Every little bit of secondary stat that your characters have, and it tells you what these secondary stats on this bubble here, is very crucial for accuracy and helping you progress through the world. In this early phase of World 1 to World 4, stats really only serve, one major purpose, and that's getting you the accuracy you need to kill the mob, or like hit the mob at 100%. Okay, so you want to try to hit that breakpoint with the mobs. And my recommendation is, if you aren't at 100% accuracy for a mob in any of the worlds, past World 3, kind of midway through World 3, past World 3, don't try to like candy it. Don't try to like AFK it. Please get the accuracy for it. Get a higher bloat sprint to increase accuracy. Upgrade your stat stamps. And once you get into World 4, you have the opportunity to use upgrade stones. And the way upgrade stones, when you get, World 1 to World 3, upgrade stones work very differently from how they work in World 4. So if you see here, the weapon stone here just gives you weapon power, right? It doesn't give you anything here. It gives you defense, random stat for armor upgrade 1. Tool skill power, random stat for upgrade stone 1. But then that holds true for up to World 3. Sorry, this is World 4. I don't know why I clicked that. But it says defense, random stat. Tool skill power, random stat. Weapon power, random stat. When you get to World 4 is when things flip. This holds true for World 5 and World 6 as well. But you see it says main stat. So you can kind of abuse this to your advantage. Main stat is whatever character you're on will apply that stat to the tool. So warriors will give strength, mages will give wisdom, archers will give agility. And then if you're the beginner class, the secret class, the Void Walker or Maestro, Journeyman, or if you're just a beginner, it'll give it luck. Luck is the stat for beginners, right? So it'll target whatever character you're on. So what you can do, and what I did in my free-to-play run, is you can give gear to another character to put their upgrade stones into the tool, give it back to the character so you can manipulate the accuracy advantage you get from those tools and weapons, right? I do this very commonly in the free-to-play run, especially when I get Amarok armor in World 4 to increase my accuracy. I give my Amarok armor to a mage class to increase the wisdom in it, and then I give that to my warrior because wisdom is a substat for warrior to get accuracy. And with my accuracy bubble, trying to increase this will increase my accuracy by a lot more. So say, for example, 1 wisdom gave me like 10 accuracy, right? Instead, it would give me 11 or like 11.5 or whatever, right? If I increase this bubble even more, and as I put more base stats or just stats into my character, I'm going to get more and more and more and more accuracy. So you can kind of see how accuracy just kind of escalates over time, right? Notwithstanding, you can also increase the total stats you get from your bubbles. So increasing your levels of Swift Step, Roid Rage, and Stable Genius, this will also increase your character's accuracy, right? I think very early on, when Lycan was progressing through, very early on, Lycan's progression through Idleon, Lycan mentioned, by the way. I hope he's doing well. I haven't talked to him in a while. But as he was very early in Idleon, I was kind of teaching him about accuracy as the thing to focus on. And, just upgrading these bubbles made a huge difference in his progression in World 4. And it made a lot of impact in my run, in my free-to-play run. Leveling up these bubbles, remembering these exist to help increase your total wisdom or total strength or total agility, right? To help increase your character stats, to increase their damage or their accuracy or skill efficiency. Now, I do want to talk about that. So damage does scale a little bit from stats early. It's not by all means like weapon power is like the biggest thing. So you want to upgrade like Sharpened Axe, right? You want to upgrade the party dungeon for weapon power if you can. Weapon power is like the biggest, earliest game scaler for damage. Stats become more of a damage source when you hit kind of, honestly, it's technically World 5 because it's a sailing artifact, and also Alchemy. It's technically a World 5 bubble, but you technically are more likely to get it in World 6 because of how artifacts progress. But there's a few things that stats become important for later on as you progress the game. Number one, obviously stats will increase your money. So nickel of wisdom, $1 of agility, and penny of strength. Every 250 of the respective stat bubbles you get will increase your money gain, right? Which is nice because as you progress through World 4, World 5, you'll notice that money is kind of a problem, right? You need more of it to upgrade vaults. You need more of it to upgrade your stamps. You need more of it to max out the pay to win tab in Alchemy, right? And these are big multiplier bubbles for cash percent. It's one of the bigger sources of cash percent outside of like Fungi Finger Pocketer in the lab and Gmush kills. And then, stats kind of scale from there. Once you get the World 5 bubbles for damage here, these scale off of your stats as well. So every 250 strength will give you a percent total damage. And if you are kind of in the end game, you know how powerful this is because you have hundreds of thousands of stats. So you divide that by whatever number is showing as power try 1, try 2, and try 3 to give you a perspective of how much damage you're going to be getting from it. And then later in World 5, when you have enough artifact find chance and you get into sailing a little bit, the crystal stake will increase this even further, giving you more damage per 100 of the stat that you have. So this is like, very clear scaling. Once you hit World 6, you have the requisite artifact find chance, the sailing speed to get crystal stake. You've unlocked power of try 1, try 2, and try 3. Your biggest source of damage later into the game is going to be stats, right? The more stats you put into your character, the more damage it gets. And the more stats you get also gives you accuracy, which kind of helps you as you get into golems and you get into World 6, right? So just know that early game, you really want to focus on base damage. You want to focus on weapon power. You want to focus on total damage, right? But as you get power try 1, try 2, and try 3 unlocked, as you get crystal stake, now your focus starts to shift into all stat, right? And then what does that trigger in your brain? Oh, immediately you have to go back to World 1. You have to go back to stamps because there's two different types of stats in this game, right? There's base stat, which you often hear me refer to, and then there's total stat. I try to keep these two very distinct for a very particular purpose. They work differently. Base stat gets multiplied by all stat, right? So if you have the Pearl Seltzer vial, if you have Marbaglass gear, if you have golden grilled cheese knob, which is the World 5 gold food, right? It's scaling your all stat by a really large amount, but it doesn't increase total stat. Total stat is things like your Roid Rage and your Swift Step and your Stable Genius. Those first bubbles in Alchemy, these are total stat. It specifically says total stat. If you increase this by 4, your stat will increase by 4. It will not multiply. If this was base stat, an increase of 4 in a very end game account would increase to like 40, right? It's a very stark, dramatic difference because of how much base stat is crucial for your characters and your character's progression. Base stat, wherever you can get it, is very important. And this brings us back to stamps, because stamps are base stats. All of the stats that you see here are base stats. So these multiply very heavily with all sources of all stat percent that you get in your account. So if you unlock Max of Stampo and you upgrade it, and I think it's 7 per upgrade, that's going to get multiplied by whatever all stat you have. So say, like in the example of an endgame account, you have like 1000% all stat or whatever. That, I actually think that's very low end. Honestly, you can probably reach like 3,000-4,000 very easily, maybe even 10,000. So 7 will get scaled up to 70 or 700 depending how endgame you are. So, every single individual upgrade you get to Max of Slapo is very important. Notwithstanding, endgamers can also candy click, but whatever. It's not a topic for your your consideration. But also consider stats, non-misc stamps. So everything not here, everything in the skills tab, everything in the combats tab gets multiplied depending on the bonuses if you've unlocked them. One is lab. Going back earlier into the video when I talked about interconnectedness, I really hope you guys understand. I'm kind of jumping through topics and I haven't even gotten through World 2, right? So stamps get multiplied by 2 different sources. One, earliest and easiest way to unlock this multiplier is lab. Lab has a stamp doubler for non-misc tab. So if I go here, it is the certified stamp book. It increases or doubles the bonus from all non-misc stamp bonus stamps, right? So that means your combat stamps, your misc stamps. So if you got 7 stats here before, you're getting 14, right? And then it gets further multiplied, or I think that adds to the lab bonus. I don't know. But if you have a pristine charm, rest in peace because it's bugged right now. But if you've managed to get the pristine charm in the future update when it's fixed, Keck W, there's a pristine charm for non-misc stamp bonus right here. Stamp. There we go. bigger bonuses of non-mixed stamps. So if you have that active, guess what? Your stamps get multiplied even further, helping scale the accuracy you get from these, helping scale the damage you get from these, helping scale the cash percent. And also one thing I forgot to mention, which is available in most master classes, is this elite class bonus. This gives you kill per kill. So if you want to open portals faster, stats are very important for that, because they give you kill per kill on top of being able to give you multi-kill, depending on how much damage you have, also give you kill per kill, right? So if you need to push portals, getting more stats is doubly effective because it gives you kill per kill and also gives you damage, which will help scale into multi-kill, which is a third way to scale and get you further into the world that you're pushing. So there you go. Stats are very crucial as you reach the end game. Once you unlock Power of Try 1, Try 2, and Try 3, once you unlock Crystal Stake, once you unlock some all stat percent, all of that becomes very crucial for pushing the world, and that kind of becomes your catalyst for being able to push through World 6. And eventually, once you get there, World 7 as well. Stats are going to be very crucial. It's the very most basic mechanic of Idleon. Focusing on them now is going to help you progress into your account. Notwithstanding that, early game, still focus on weapon power, still focus on base damage, on total damage. Just flesh out your stamps so you kind of support yourself later into the game, because the balancing of the game kind of shifts as you get into World 6. So there we go. There's stamps. Just basically just kind of talked about how they're important and why they're still relevant into the end game, just kind of as a basis for your account to scale. Yeah, okay, that's all I'm going to say. Along the same vein, Kangaroo, right? There's very select few people in the community who absolutely hate Kangaroo and will never touch it. GP, I'm looking at you. But Kangaroo is a very good early game mechanic for people to focus on, because it gives you base damage, it gives you total damage, it gives you all stat. Those three things we just mentioned are crucial for a character's account progression in anyone's account progression in this game. We just talked about how base damage early game is so important. We just talked about how total damage in the early game is very important. We just talked about how all stats are very important because it helps you with accuracy, which is something you need early game. And then as you transition to late game, it helps you with everything. And guess what? The stats you get here from Owl are base stats, which get multiplied by the all stat percent that you eventually get later into World 5 and World 4 if you unlock Pearl Cells or Vial, right? So getting into the Owl mechanic, trying to understand it, take it slow. Owl mechanic is not that hard to understand. You just click on Generate Feather, and then if you can click on Bonus of Orion, you click it, right? If you can click on Feather Restart, you click it, right? It's very basic, very easy to understand mechanic. Contrast that with Kangaroo, which is a little more convoluted for God knows what reason. But resetting incorrectly on Kangaroo can actually harm you. I don't know. I don't know, man. But Kangaroo is a very easy mechanic to understand. It's very hard to fail it. And if you need a guide on it, just sit there and look at it, right? It's like Cookie Clicker. If you don't understand well, I can understand you for not understanding Cookie Clicker, but like imagine Cookie Clicker when it first came out, right? And it's very basic. It's very understandable. It's very noob friendly. This plus stamps plus vault were one of the biggest reasons I was able to push to World 6 in 1 week, right? All of those constituted a very basic, base for my account to scale off of. Using the stats that I got helped me with accuracy. Using the damage from Owl and Kangaroo and all this stuff coming together helped me scale into World 6. Right? They're all very crucial. All of these added together, and all of these are very small. Now, I don't want to say you can get there in World 6 in 1 week, because I spent a copious amount of time that not a lot of people have, and perspective that often gets missed in these videos is I spent a large proportion of my day on the free-to-play account progressing it, right? So I sat here for like hours at a time progressing Owl to get like 6-7 fractal mega feathers to give you like the most insane amount of total damage and base damage and all stat you can get out of a free-to-play account within the first week, right? That's insane. Don't do that. But still take it slow. You can use Toolbox to your advantage here. You can look at the dashboard, set up reminders for when your feather restart's available, or set parameters and use this as a tool, because that's what Toolbox is meant for, right? Cool. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about World 2, talk about cauldrons a little bit, talk about vials maybe, talk about bubbles. So early game of Idleon, bubble unlocking is very painful, it's very slow, and there's really only one way to speed it up, and that would be through Shaman. Shaman has a talent specifically called Bubble Breakthrough, and what it does is it increases your odds of unlocking a new bubble, but you have to be on the character with that talent active, or rather, have points spec'd into it to be able to get that. So whenever you are trying to unlock a bubble, make sure to equip the preset on your bubo or your shaman or your arcane cultist, depending what you've unlocked, and try to unlock a bubble with it, right, to increase the odds of the new bubble brewing. This is the most efficient way to try to do it early game. Now, you can try to cranium cook. What cranium cooking does is it'll progress your alchemy by a specific amount, dependent on your cooking roadkill bubble here, depending on your cooking roadkill talent that you have in your shaman tab. And as you get a higher level of tentacle, obviously killing a mob will reduce the cooldown of cranium cooking. Pre 200 talent level, it is very slow, and you're going to be relegating to doing cranium cooking once a day, and you're not going to get that many procs out of it, that much progression out of cranium cooking, so it's kind of dead early game. Once you get 200 talent levels though, this 2 seconds scales up to 3 seconds, and then when you get 400 talent levels, scales from 3 to 4, which is cool. But the big breakpoint for early game accounts is trying to get that 200 talent level for Bubo. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get there immediately. 200 talent levels is actually very hard to achieve for an early game account. It kind of necessitates Fury Relic, which is a very, kind of difficult relic to get to in sailing. Notwithstanding that, you can also get Rift Slug from pet companions, which kind of eliminates part of the challenge. But if you don't have Rift Slug, you're going to need Fury Relic, right? There's a bit of a trade-off. There's a combination of minimum talent levels which come through things like Symbols of Beyond, for example. So you can get a lot of minimum talent levels here. Your Elemental Sorcerer has a family tab bonus, which I can't show you here, but once you reach certain level breakpoints in your Elemental Sorcery, you'll get minimum talent levels, which scale into your characters, your other characters, that is. So that'll help you with that. There's a few talent library, for example. Obviously, as you level that up, it'll help you. There's Salt Lick will give you max talent levels. There's an achievement in World 3 for max talent levels. There's an Atom that'll give you max talent levels. I really can't remember all the sources. I know the wiki has some of the sources for maximum talent levels. So I'd refer you to that, honestly, if you need help. That'll give you the source of everything, kind of a breakdown of what you need to help you out with that. Okay. But if you're just trying to get to 200 as an early game account, if you don't have Rift Slug, I think you're kind of shoehorned, or is that the term? You kind of forced, pigeonholed, that's the word, pigeonholed into getting Fury Relic, right? That's kind of the break point, and that's kind of hard to get to. Tackle that when we get there in just a second. Let's talk about vials real quick. So vials, as you picked up, Duck, you can unlock vials in a disorganized fashion, so you don't have to do it in the order it kind of presents itself. You can pick and choose which vials you can try to unlock, so you can use that to your advantage. If you're trying to get weapon power to scale your damage early, right? Kraken vials when you want to try to get. There's another one here, I think it's Rat Tail. Yeah, Tail Time for weapon power, trying to unlock this for more weapon power to help you with that. Trying to push portals faster, right? What you want to do is try to get seawater, because every time you kill a mob has a % chance to count as 2, which is, kill per kill, which is pretty good. If you want catching efficiency, if you want chopping efficiency, mining efficiency, fishing efficiency, you can go for the mesquite nose, tundra logs, go for the mammoth tusks, or you can go for where is it, void ore, that's right, for the respective efficiencies they'll give, right? If you want to go for lab EXP, you have the blobfish, which everyone universally has access to blobfish now. Just by the way, you just need to get to the Chalky's map. Chalky's map? Yeah, Chalky's map to be able to drop the trap there. Pet damage. If you want to kill, I believe these are Stilted Seekers that drop this. You can get pet damage here. Pet damage, not that useful. If you want to get base critters to help you with trapping EXP, there you go. You can target farm whichever bubble or vial you want to unlock, right? And remember, when you try to unlock a bubble, use the bubble trick, the vial trick rather. Take individual stacks of items, boom, boom, boom. Take these, for example. These aren't vials. I just, doing a stack. Someone asked me in a previous video how I do this so fast. So I'm playing on Steam, right? So I have a window here. I click right here. It's on split stacks on quick tap, right? Normally you just click OK and it would drag it into the inventory. But what I'm doing here is I'm actually holding down enter. And then it just automatically, once I click, it takes a second, but it'll automatically deposit. So all I'm doing here is just clicking. Wow, that just deposited a lot of those. Okay, I think my game is lagging. But yeah, you can just also hold down shift over the cauldron and then just click as many of these as you can. And then it'll try to unlock it. You see all those item pop-ups count as like one unlock attempt. If you do this normally and you just drop one item, wait for all those roll attempts, the RNG attempts, it'll all individually tick down the RNG attempts. However, you can force through that limit much faster and force proc many more vial attempts if you just force spam items down. And by the way, I think the ballot bonus reset and I just never checked it. So we have refinery cycles, which is sick. What do I want here? I'm going to go for sailing captain EXP. Why not? Right, to kind of prep, because I imagine World 7 is going to have more relics, a new tier of relics, maybe new islands, who knows, some expansion to go off of. Also, I want to give a quick shout out. Apparently, the mouse wheel up and down click feature, the not auto click feature, is now illegal in Idleon. Don't ask me why. I think it's a stupid idea because I don't want to give myself carpal tunnel. So I will be continuing to use mouse wheel. Sue me. Anyways, yeah, you can use that trick to unlock vials. Also, print sample size. This is obviously a very big thing that people kind of forget about and have trouble with in the early game. So your prints are probably very bad in the early game because you just unlocked Refinery. You haven't really done a lot to scale your prints, right? So you're struggling keeping Refinery up. You're struggling getting material resources and stuff. And your print sample rate's not capped at 90%. So a big thing for you to do is try to get towards that 90% through bubbles, through vials, through prayers. All that combined together is going to help try to get you to that 90%. So talking about bubbles, there is the sample it bubble, I think it's called. Somewhat early on, I believe. It's in here. There it is. Sample it bubble. This one right here, it takes Dune Souls. So if you have Dune Souls to use, again, use it. Mantra of early game is if you have a resource, use it to upgrade your character in some way. So alchemy stamps, tools, whatever. Just don't fret the resource cost unless it comes to Refinery. Don't over level your Refinery, please. And I'll talk about that in a second. Sample is very easy early source of that. There's also the snow slurry vial for that print sample size. There's also 2 stamps for it. One of them I think you unlock in the trash island. The other is a mob drop, maybe. But this will, there we go. Stample stamp. I think actually comes from Quest. I have no idea. But this will give you 3D printer sample size. And then obviously the biggest one people often use, and I highly recommend everyone use, don't worry about the downside of it, but it's prayer. This you unlock rather early. It's the Acorn Assault. It is level 21, the Acorn Assault. If you don't know where Acorn Assault is, it's the tower defense in the map here. So you go to the Styx map, and then there's 2 portals at the bottom. One leads you to the Slimes map, and the other will lead you to the tower defense. The tower defense one has a higher kill count, so people often kind of miss it, obviously because the portal's underneath it, and the Styx is a very underutilized map. But you go down here, there we go. You have this one little nutto here, which, by the way, for Deathbringer up super chows, Zows, Wows, Apocalypse Wows, whatever, this counts as a separate nutto. But point aside, there's this tower defense right here, Acorn Assault. I just recently got this up to 200. I'm very excited about it. But you can try to unlock wave 21. That'll unlock the Royal Sampler prayer. You equip that on all your characters to try to force up to that 90% print sample rate you see here. And it'll help you. So maxing it out gives you 44%. Takes a lot of rooted souls to do that for an early game player, so you don't necessarily need to max it out. Just try to get to level 11 is generally where people try to aim for to help you out in that progression. So that's very early sources of 3D print sample size, and print sample size is very big for your prints. It's just straight up multiplier to how many prints you get. Okay. Second thing for prints wise, that you want to do is obviously the multi-resource chance bubbles. So you have, let's see, Hardy Diggy first of all. Sorry, not Hardy Diggy. Wyoming Blood, Sploosh Sploosh. You have Bug Squared. This is bug bracket here. Toolbox is tweaking. And then you have multi-logo here. So all of those multi-resource chance, they cap out early game at 300%. Later on in the hole, you can unlock an upgrade to make this up to 600%. So 600% is like the true cap for this. 300% right now for an early game player pre-hole. This is kind of what you need to worry about. So obviously these are somewhat resource intensive bubbles. Iron bars is very resource intensive. Cereals is very resource intensive. Hermit cans, flies, all these kind of suck and hurt to get points into, but definitely doable and definitely something you can get points into to try to get those multi-resource chance up. Okay, that'll help your prints a little bit. Let's talk about Refinery. So it kind of neglected this for a little bit. Also, we're 40 minutes into the review. I don't want to be talking too much because it's almost 10 o'clock where I am. And I need to go to bed because I have work tomorrow. So best thing Refinery wise is don't mess up your salts early. There's a few things people run into as locks that kind of stop or staunch progress early game. And one of them is salt lock. So there's a few different meanings to that. Early game, if you mess up Refinery, as in you over level a Refinery, you might run out of resources. You might run out of the previous salts to be able to progress your salts. You don't want to do that because you need to double up the upgrades of the previous salt in order to catch back up to then upgrade a future salt. So say, for example, you've over leveled orange salt, which you've almost done, by the way. Already at level 5 and 3, this is way out of balance. And then here at rank 3 spontaneity salts, this is also out of balance. So you messed this up. You've also messed up, you haven't really messed up dioxide. But easiest way in Toolbox to show if you've messed this up is look for orange or red in the Refinery tab. If you're colorblind, I got a better thing for you. So you see how if you hover over the salt, so spontaneity salt, look at the hour column here. It's taking 5,060 sorry, dropped something. 5,060 sand thing per hour, right? So first of all, you're not printing enough, so you're going to need to either print enough or kill enough mobs to get this much, which is very daunting early game. Once you get V-Man, this kind of helps a little bit, but you want to print enough to be able to refine it, right? So that's number one. You're kind of resource locked on some of these salts, unfortunately, which is just, the nature of things in your early game. As you get more damage, as you get more multi-kill, this will become a little bit easier for you. But for right now, it's just a little bit of a problem, which isn't too bad. Then you need goldfish. You need to print this, make sure you get that. But skipping down to the salts here, you're printing 80 per hour. So with all the cycles that you get for explosive salts, you're only producing 80, but blue salts are consuming 161. That's bad. Obviously, there's a big mismatch of 81. So what this tells you is you need to do one of two things. One, auto refine spontaneity salts. There's a button at the bottom that says auto refine. It's like a wrench. You click it, it'll turn auto refine on. That's what you want to do. Secondly, you also want to turn it off so that way you don't over consume your orange salts. Build up a little bit of stockpile and then eventually level it up, right? Same thing for red salts. You see you're printing 161 here an hour. You're consuming 161 here an hour. So what this means, you need to turn explosive salts on auto refine or turn it off. Now you want to turn it back on or turn auto refine off once this number here, the hour printing, is much higher and not at all within danger of turning orange here. And then same thing for the next resource one. However, if you don't use Toolbox, you don't want to use Toolbox for whatever reason, you can also go to the Refinery. And if you see here, if I click on the view rank and this thing is here, it'll show your rank, component cost, power cap, power per cycle. Best way to determine if you're over leveled in something is take the power per cycle. This is how much you're producing per cycle. Okay, and you look down here, this is how much it's consuming per cycle. I hope my mouse is showing. 13,853 is being produced for red salt, and I'm consuming 7,070. Okay, so that means I am over by 6,000, so I'm safe here. I can level up orange just fine, right? I don't actively do it because this is a very short cycle time, and I often forget to do it, so it just kind of sucks. Gotta drink water. Cool. And then you can kind of go down the line and repeat the process there. So I'm printing 3,500 orange salts, consuming 2,220. Good, I'm over leveled there. Now, it gets a little bit funky when you go to blue, because remember that between combustion and synthesis cycle, the cycle time increases by 3 times. So going from 1109 producing for the blue salts, and I go over to here, you see I'm producing 1,050 or consuming 1,050 per cycle. This is fine. Well, I'm even over leveled, so that's super fine. Rank it up there. Okay, still fine. But this is, say I was still like double the consumption here. That's totally fine because the 3 times cycle time, right? So this production, multiply this by 3, and that's how much you're actually producing per synthesis cycle, right? So I'm producing 3,327 blue salts to my consumption of 1,060 blue salts. So I'm completely overcapped here. And then you go back to normal, right? You're producing 1,057 green salts, you're consuming 392 in a single cycle. You're producing 196 purple salts, you're consuming 138 a cycle. So this is fine, right? I can level these up just fine, not gonna mess that up. You don't need a refinery chart or anything fancy, and I think those numbers kind of scale depending on if you've upgraded this upgrade in the merit shop, the one where refinery salt costs don't scale beyond power output. Make sure you get this in merit shop and make sure you don't like overproduce salts, or just makes the calculus a little bit easier. But use that if you want to help you understand if you're overproducing salts. Okay. I think I've said this before and I'll say it again. Just very briefly, I don't want to touch on Atom Collider for someone who's more early game account, but Atom Collider is very much a World 6 endeavor. I'd say once you get to like between League Spirits and Sky Doggy Spirits is where Atom Collider kind of turns online for you. And I don't actually mean, please do not turn on Atom Collider. Okay, I guess this deserves a little bit of explanation. Atom Collider actually works when it's off. I've had it off on my main account for so many years. I think I've talked, or months, whatever. I haven't played for multiple years for Idleon. Played since 2023, I think. Oh my god, it has been. It's been 2 years. I played this game for 2 fucking years. But Atom Collider, it'll work on or off. The reason being is there's an internal integer limit for items in your storage at 1,050 mil. Once you hit 1,050 mil, regardless of if you have, or irregardless if you have Atom Collider or not, if you hit that limit, anything you produce over it will eventually turn into atoms. You don't need Atom Collider off. You don't need Atom Collider on. It just does it. It's just an internal limit to the game. Also, I have helium-14. The only thing Atom Collider on does is if you change this number here, the one where it says resources only converted if you have more than this, it'll set whatever your storage number is to that number. So say you have 1,050 mil copper ore and you change this to 15 mil, it'll instantly atomize all the copper ore you have down to 15 mil, and then boom, you're destroyed in ore. You don't want to do that, primarily because later game candy clicking becomes a thing. It's like important, right? Secondly, it just sucks to have your items destroyed to 15 mil, right? It just kind of, it feels bad. So keep it off, because when you change this number, it won't delete your stacks, right? It just stays there. Also, why do I have 2 God Shard spheres in my storage? Jesus. Why do I have 2 of these cavern trekkers? And why do I have this and all this stuff? I'm just drop that, call it a day, move on. There we go. That's Atom Collider, baby. Equinox. Very slow to start. If you can get to Equinox, just obviously max out the Equinox Dream ones you get, so you can see the 5 dreams you have to progress through. By all means, not a necessity, just recommend it. It's good quality of life for Equinox. But Equinox is very slow to progress through. My recommendation is obviously remember to do party dungeons, kind of a big thing that people often forget about. Party up with people, ask people in Discords, whether it be the main Cord, my Discord, Griffy Bits, Itty Bitty Army. Ask for help for carry in the World 1 party dungeon, World 2 party dungeon, World 3 party dungeon. Griffy Bit also has a great party dungeon guide going through World 1 party dungeon, World 2, World 3. How to solo carry yourself. It does require some effort, having done done Party Dungeon before and different class setups, right? His guides from years ago are still relevant. Keep in mind, there's been a little bit of meta change. Maybe you want to do Arcane Cultist inside Party Dungeon 1. Maybe you want to do it in Party Dungeon 2. I don't know. Experiment, see for yourself. But if you want to just do the Party Dungeon solo yourself, just stick to the guides because they're still relevant, right? Nothing's changed. Party Dungeon is kind of a neglected mechanic. Cool. When it comes to buildings, just early game, what I recommend is chest space. Chest space is obviously very limited, so if you can upgrade chest space, do it. If you can upgrade Cost Cruncher, do it. Yeah, the less resources you spend on construction, the better. And then as you do buildings, for tower defense specifically, boulder rollers are a great one to help you with early tower defense. This is the biggest source of early game damage. Party starter is a great support tower, so trying to unlock that and get that is very important. Stormcaller for the crit chance as well. Kraken cosplayer for the crowd control. Poisonic Elder eventually is your big damage one you replace boulder rollers with. In the late game, you almost never replace boulder rollers, right? It's just always Poisonic Elders, and then Voidinator is a good support tower to place in the front of your towers when you eventually get it. This helps change the meta for tower defense significantly. Okay, and then all these shrines. Obviously, shrines are very important. I talk about this very often in my account reviews, especially in your end game account when you're trying to push like 30 shrine level, right? It all starts somewhere. So level up your shrines. If you need a quick refresher on how shrines work, if you have the lab node, they pretty much work. You just put them in the world town. You claim AFK hours in your character wherever they are in the world. So my shrines right now are located in world 5. You'll see if I go to Undead Shrine, 35,107 hours, right? If I claim the 155 hours of bravery right here, again, I need a refresher on this number, 35,107. Boom, boom, boom. With all the multipliers I have to hours, if I go here, 35,107, 35,871. So I've gained 770,000 hours from claiming the 155. It's because I have a variety of gold cheese and beanstalk and like stuff for my character, and a bunch of gold food effect. So all that's getting scaled up, and then also the fact I have level 200 of these shrines here, giving a ton of level up rate, and also the crystal shrine increasing the level up rate, all the shrines of the map, right? So all that coming together. Remember, put them all in the world. Put them in the world where most of your characters are AFK. So my character is AFK in the hole, so I want to put it in world 5 town, so it collects through AFK time through the entirety of world 5. So say I was AFK on Tremor Worms, it would collect the AFK time when I come back and collect the characters if they're on Tremor Worms, for example. So that's kind of a quick refresher on how shrines work. There's a few other bonuses to shrines. There's one in sailing, the Moai Head. There is the Jade Emporium upgrade called Shrine Leveling Bargain Agreement, or Collective Bargain Agreement, which means you can move shrines without them losing EXP, which is very crucial as you try to min-max where your shrines are placed. So if you're waiting to move shrines for EXP, it's a total valid thing. If you're an early game player, Jade Emporium is eventually where you unlock the ability to move your shrines without them destroying their EXP, right? Cool. Very quickly trying to progress because it's 50 minutes already. Death Note becomes kind of crucial, especially as you get into Cavern 9 for World 5. And eventually when you get World 6, multi-kill is very crucial for trying to push those portal counts, right? So by all means, you don't need to, try to eclipse skulls by any means or get lava skulls, but, come back to multi-kill. The Death Note kills that you rack up on these mobs is very crucial, especially as you unlock Voidwalker. As you try to get more portal count there, that multi-kill is going to help you push further in the speedrun. It's also going to help you get higher prints for sport caps or the sandy pot material, right? So it's going to be very crucial for that as well. And then as you get more multi-kill, it's going to help you push the world a little bit faster. So as you get multi-kill in Spirited Valley in World 6, it'll help you push World 6 faster, which means you can get to the end of World 6 and get into World 7, right? All that stuff. Worship, don't equip Slush Skull. It is significantly worse than just equipping the base skull. You see you have your charge rate at 44% with just the World 3 shop skull, but you have 20% per day from Slush Skull. This actually gives you worse damage output than base skull, is what I determined in my free-to-play run. I compared the stats, and Slush Skull, despite it giving total damage in all stat, was actually worse than just the base skull that I got here. So just equip Wax Skull, right? And then upgrade it through the Anvil tab. You're missing out on a ton of charge rate per day for absolutely no reason. Okay. Now, this video is getting very long, but early game, the gist of trapping is there's a few. How do I say this? So trapping EXP is scaled based off of base critters and, hitting the minimum efficiency you need for a trap. So frogs have their own efficiency. Scorpios, penguins, all of them have their own set efficiency. Once you hit that, you get like a good amount of EXP, right? The more levels you get into Trapper Drone will help increase the amount of critters you get. The more levels you get into Eagle Eye talent for Beastmaster will help increase the amount of critters you catch, and I believe EXP as well. What character you do it on, so you have V-Man, for example, or Maestro, have the Maestro Transfusion talent, help increase your skill EXP there. Base critters obviously is a good one as well, so the Windwalker Compass will have base critter increase. The Honker Goose Vial in Alchemy will help increase base critters. There's shiny pets that you can get in breeding will help you with their base critters. I believe it's Octodars and Sticks. I think Sticks might be base skill efficiency. I can't remember. No, those are base critters. Yeah, Octodars and Sticks I think are base critters. But base critters is a massive multiplier to EXP. So if you're struggling with EXP, leveling up trapping, and obviously trying to get critters, base critters are a great way to do it. Obviously, Crop Depot later obviously gives you base critters as well. Cool. I'm going to move on. My voice is starting to give out, so I'll make this quick, especially since it's almost 10 o'clock and this review has been going on for an hour. Cool. I had a previous video talking about construction boards, so you can do that. Look at that video. It's been more than 30 days for you, so you should have armor sets unlocked. So just make sure to go back and do your armor sets to try and get your overall account bonuses. Sometimes you may need to click on the set. Also, I don't know if you know this, but if you're an early game player, sometimes if you don't have smithy sets unlocked, obviously this is what I'm referring to. If you have full Amarok armor for your character, right? You have those 4 pieces of armor. If you log out of the character, cloud save, quit for the day, whatever, and come back, the set bonus is not active till you click it again. So make sure to click on your armor to gain the accuracy and defense that you would have been missing, because that just happens. Just by the way, cool. Cooking's very painful. My only advice here is when you get Arcane Cultist, maybe struggle through and try to get 10 Prism Bubbles to unlock Diamond Chef, or Prisma Diamond Chef, that is. This bubble is very crucial. It is one of the big 3 multipliers for cooking speed in the entire game. The other being Blood Marrow and I believe Fluoride, one of the atoms from the Atom Collider. Those are huge multipliers to meal cooking speed that you can get in the game. Diamond Chef is just the earliest one you can get access to, and you're almost there in the Yellow Cauldron, so I'd try to push. Well, I mean, you probably have pushed it already, but you can push there. Try to do that. Cool. Okay. Again, I kind of want to get through as fast as possible some of the mechanics to have, I don't know, hopefully help you, Duck. I mean, it's been a month and a half, so I don't know how much I'm helping you, but to kind of help those in the early game kind of understand the early game a little bit better. So when you get to World 5, you're probably going to have a hard time actually doing some of the mechanics in World 5. Divinity is notoriously slow. Sailing is also notoriously slow. Gaming is also notoriously slow to start. All these mechanics are very idle, right? In the true fashion of Idleon, it's in the true spirit of what Idleon's been to be. It's very idle, right? The biggest things to note about early game sailing is there's a few big relics to try to aim for. Number one being Fossary Tusk, right? Trying to get this to Ancient immediately is a very good idea because it'll help you get increased artifact find chance, which will mean you can find other artifacts faster, right? So this is the earliest source of artifact find chance you get, and every time you have a chance to upgrade Fossary Tusk, do it. So if you have Ancient, which you start off with at base, try to unlock Fossary Tusk at Ancient. If you have Eldritch through Rift, right, you want to try to get Eldritch Fossary Tusk as soon as possible. One of the first relics you want to try to go for. If you have Sovereign, you want to try to go Fossary Tusk. And then if there's some 5th tier relic introduced, the first relic I'm going to be trying to aim for is Fossary Tusk. Second, probably Genie Lamp for an early game player. Because loot value is so important in upgrading your boats, right? And getting you, more speed so you can get to a later island. More loot value on the first 3 boats is really crucial. Trying to use the loot value you get from upgrading these boats and trying to get the resources from the first island to upgrade speed in the first 2 boats as well. It's also very crucial. And then when you get into a third boat. Obviously, trying to use the resources it requires and trying to upgrade those boats to get more loot value and speed to help you get to the later islands is very crucial. So the name of the game for sailing is loot value, right? Being able to upgrade your boats, get the requisite speed, get the requisite loot value to be able to get more of the items you need to upgrade speed. All of that comes together and is very crucial how sailing scales, right? So it's very, very important. Third of three, I should say four, because there's another one, 80 tablet later, but Emerald Relic, getting the conversion, the Blobby G, right? Getting that conversion, getting a bunch of gold bars for trading in your resources is a great way to get gold bars to be able to upgrade your boats. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then fourthly, I should have mentioned fourthly, 80 tablet. Sailing speed is obviously very crucial. It's very hard to come by. And 80 tablet early game is a saving grace for helping you get to later islands, especially as you try to get to Fairy Relic. Sailing 1080 tablet is going to be very crucial. And also this introduces, or rather you kind of reintroduces slab. Slab becomes kind of very crucial for World 5 because as you unlock more items, now you're going to get more sailing speed. So this becomes the big quest, right? You want to try to push and go back to earlier mechanics and get stuff that you haven't done before to help increase the amount of sailing speed you get and eventually damage, right? Early, you hit the Rubik's Cube from sailing, gets you damage. Another artifact here for Divinity, for bit gain, Jade Emporium upgrade, Essence, Jade Emporium upgrade specifically for Jade gain, for Essence gain. Is that where it's from? Where is it from? Where are these upgrades from? I can't remember. Anyways, Slab becomes kind of a crucial side quest to kind of side progress with your characters, right? Because as you craft more gear, as you find more items, as you chop more trees, as you mine more ore, as you fish more fish, you unlock incremental account bonuses for your account, right? So this will help you with your skills. This will help you with your character damage and all this stuff. So this becomes very crucial as well. And Divinity, the only thing I can say is just unlock Goat God. It'll make everything so much easier because it'll help you level up Lab and Divinity at the same time. Just read what it does. I'm getting exhausted. I hope you guys understand. I can't really explain all that well. Just kind of read, understand what Goat God does, link yourself in Lab, progress Lab and Divinity at the same time, equip whatever highest EXP prayer style you can to try to get higher level Divinity as well. Cool. And then early game, once you unlock Omnifowl and you kind of unlock Hole as well, there is an upgrade here. Provided you don't have Doot, you can actually get 2 links to gods, 2 additional links. So I'd recommend probably linking your characters to Omnifowl. What this does is when you claim AFK time, you have a 15% chance it progresses Refinery. So this means you could say, for example, leave a character AFK for 24 hours, come back, and if it procs Refinery, you gain 24 hours Refinery cycles, which is great for helping you break out of the first early game salt lock, which is maybe over leveling your Refinery, or maybe you don't have green salts for something or blue salts, right? It'll help you kind of get that material to help you, catch back up to wherever you need to be. Okay. And I'm not even going to touch World 6 skills because this video has been an overload of information and I can feel my throat drying up. So I thank you guys for the video. I hope you guys learned a little bit about the early game of Idleon, kind of what courses through my mind when I did the free-to-play run, what I looked at to kind of give myself perspective about, how do I get into World 6 in a week? How do I progress my account in a healthy way? And to those of you who don't understand Idleon as well as I do, as well as most of my community do, how do you get into Idleon, understand it? And the key, I will repeat again, is just take it slow. The game is not a race. You don't need to compete for 0.1% on the leaderboard, right? You don't need to compare yourself to end gamers who are spending 1 hour time candy and getting, magnitudes of order more resources than you will ever see in this game for the next few months, right? It's just take it slow. Eidolon's a fun game, right? Notwithstanding all the drama and all the shit I give Lava, this game is very fun. There is an endless amount of time sink you can put into this game, and depending how much time and effort you are willing to put into it, Idleon will reward you with hours of fun. And I still stand by my statement that this is one of the best incremental games out there because it is. It absolutely is. Now, I still have problems with it. Obviously, a lot of people do. And I think it's very valid. But I think it's undeniable how much effort has gone into this game. I think it's undeniable, the vast amount of content, for someone, going back to Griffey's video, as I mentioned, the first 15 minutes, him being overwhelmed and explaining the vast majority of content available to a new player is extraordinary, right? I love games like that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I still play this game to this day, despite my many problems with it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you guys learned a little bit of something about the early game of Idleon. Hope you guys learned something from my ranting for the past 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 52 seconds as of right now. Well, now it's 55, 56 seconds, 57, 58, 59, 60 is 3 minutes. Okay, cool. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye. And I'll see you at World 7 launch, which I will be streaming, by the way. So yeah, I'll see you guys on launch day. Anyways, have a great day. Bye.